The fantastic thing about being an actor is that you kind of live vicariously through the roles that you play. And I've had so much fun. I've been a rock and roll singer, I've been a cowgirl, you know, Reggie in Night of the Comet, where I get to shoot people with a MAC-10. I remember going in and reading for it originally, and then the callback, I was set up with this girl, and we read together. I forget who it was, but at the callback, Kelli Maroney was set up with another girl to read as sisters. And so it was sort of a surprise when I learned that she was going to be my sister, and you know, and the other girl wasn't.
I said, could I audition for Reggie? Because I wanted to be the tough girl and I wanted to play a little older and stuff like that. Because I don't know, I didn't want to be goofy like that. And he said, no. I said, I can't even, no. And that was the end of that. And so I auditioned for it. I remember being so happy. For some reason, I came out of Raleigh Studios and I drove home and I felt extremely happy for no reason. Then I went back to New York where I lived at the time. And eventually I got a call and they said, they want to know where you are, you got the movie. And no one had told me I got it or anything. I said, well, I'm home in New York. And so I had to get on a plane and beat feet out here to California.
Attention, shoppers. I trust you've got credit cards to pay for all that stuff.
What I really loved about it was the fact that the characters that drove the script were female, which is kind of unusual. And plus, I really identified with Regina as kind of that tomboy, bullheaded kind of, you know, determined young woman. I loved that.
Thom showed me the movie, or he told me to watch My Man Godfrey. So I was playing, I was doing, like he said, be yourself, but this is the idea. So I took as inspiration Carole Lombard in My Man Godfrey, who's the little sister who's highly dramatic. I'm just the person who is so eager for life, you know, and I have this big sister that, you know, I'm kind of competitive with in a way, but she's just so awesome that, you know, I don't ever feel like I measure up.
Why are you so weirded out? Oh, right, Reg. Why should I be weirded out? My sister, who swiped every guy I ever had my eye on, has now swiped the last guy in the whole freaked out world.
Well, I'm also the one, too, that's in complete denial. I felt like we knew each other. First scene was the scene where she comes home and I'm getting ready for pep squad practice.
God, what are you trying to do? Give me a heart attack? I thought you were Doris.
That was our very first day. And we just fell into it. And it was like I always knew her.
We had a lot of fun together. We became really, really good friends. We became like sisters on the show. And I think that kind of shows. I think the relationship shows in the movie. So I have nothing but good memories, and we stayed friends afterwards. It wasn't a huge budget, and I was going through this learning curve as I was doing it. So there was a lot of pressure, and I found it quite intense. But then again, doing a soap opera where you shoot an hour episode every day, that is craziness. In fact, shooting something like Night of the Comet is so much easier than shooting a soap opera. That was probably, in terms of acting, the hardest work I've ever done.
That was the best thing I had going for me, was that I had all that soap opera training, which you don't ever stop tape. The wall can come down. Anything you do not stop tape, they get really mad at you and you can get fired for that. So, and Kathy also was on daytime. So that's all we knew, is get in there, be prepared, and do your thing. And if we got 2 takes, we thought, we get 2 takes? We get 2 chances at this? Because we weren't even used to having one, you know, barely one.
It was kind of like we were all in it together, you know, kind of guerrilla filmmaking. So if things went wrong, it was almost like, well, you know, well, of course things are going to go wrong. Nobody really expected it to be like a big budget feature film, and you have to go into these things with that attitude. You know, one day the makeup guy didn't show up, so we were just like, okay, we'll do our own makeup, you know.
We broke for lunch and we were downtown, and I had a bathrobe on and my rollers, and I think I had a baseball cap on top of my, you know, I looked insane. And sure enough, the homeless people thought that our lunch truck was a homeless truck, and they got in line with us. And I thought, yeah, exactly, because look at us.
Wait till Daddy hears about that.
You know how he's always telling me to be careful with my mouth on account of the dental plan doesn't cover anything cosmetic.
Thom was like our dad. There's a scene in our living room, and there's me as a little girl and Kathy's a little girl, and then there's the Green Beret guy. That's Thom. He put the hat on and stuff to take the picture. And he always looked out for us, and I think I got a lot of the performance that he wanted me to, through osmosis, just by hanging around him.
Thom is brilliant. He wrote the script. I loved it. At a certain point, the producers were trying to decide whether they wanted it to be a serious horror movie or as written, which was much more tongue-in-cheek and so much more intelligent in many ways and fun. And fortunately, the end product stuck closer to the original script, which was wonderful. I think he's a brilliant writer.
Are you pregnant?
Nope. Thought I was once, though.
That's not important.
That's what you think. That's the longest 3 weeks of my life.
The challenge was, you're reading the script and you're laughing. I was laughing out loud on the plane. And it's, you know, then it became, how do you keep the humor and yet make it, you know, keep the reality of the scene, too. I don't think anybody ever, when had decided to go, like, just for humor. We always played that like it was really happening.
There was a little bit of improvisation. Thom was really open to all that stuff. We pretty much stuck to the script, but there were times where, for instance, when we were shooting at a car.
Here.
We were supposed to get Uzis, and we got Mach 10s. And Thom was so frustrated, everybody's kind of frustrated because they jammed. And so we were blowing takes.
Great.
It was ridiculous. And so finally Thom walks up to me and he says, if that happens again, we're not going to stop. I just want you to just be disgusted and go,
See, this is the problem with these things.
Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
And I look at the car and I said, well, the car didn't know the difference. That was all kind of improvised. But, you know, for the most part, we stuck to the script. But they were definitely open to it. I think they allowed us to develop our characters and the characters' relationships as organically as possible.
Look! Look at this! At what?
Doris, isn't it, Chucks? I'll show you Doris. Here's Doris. This is all that's left of her, this and dust.
I seem to remember that we shot like first thing in the morning, Christmas morning, so that the entire downtown was empty, or as empty as possible.
It was a lot of shots of downtown and, oh no, there's window washers. And the producer would be like screaming behind me because in those days we couldn't CGI those people out. There was no CGI. If you had window washers in the shot, you lost the shot.
I mean, it wasn't like it was such a huge production that we could hire a bunch of people to block off all the streets downtown LA. We had to shoot during a time where nobody would be there. And yeah, it was weird.
It just helped our performances because it was a little eerie. I was brand new to Los Angeles. I'd never seen a lot of those areas before.
Do you have your MasterCard on you? No. Good, because you don't need it. The stars are open!
The drag about shooting in an actual department store is that, again, you have to do it when there's nobody else around, which means all night long. So night shoots are always a total drag. But it was kind of cool, you know, having the whole store to ourselves.
It was fun because all the guys were all excited. The producers, the crew, everybody, because they were going to break stuff. And they were going to blow stuff up, and they all run around going, fire in the hole, fire. Right? So they were like kids at Christmas. It was kind of fun. I spent a lot of time in malls, actually, in general, back in the 80s. So it is kind of strange to go in there and start breaking stuff.
Who gets to do this kind of stuff? You know, shop in a store in the middle of the night, try on all these clothes, and then get into a firefight with a bunch of zombies. It's great! It's the best!
I didn't get to go to the premiere because I was back in New York doing something else. And then I think the time I saw it after it was all done, I think I saw it on cable.
I guess I saw it in the theater. I I believe I went to a theater and saw it by myself. I'm not sure that they did a screening. I recall going to a movie theater in Westwood in Los Angeles and sitting in the audience, more to see how the audience reacted to it. And that was kind of fun. There weren't very many people there, but it was kind of cool just sitting in the back and hoping nobody noticed me.
I was really proud of it. I thought that we threw a lot of heart into it. You know, it wasn't just it wasn't goofy. It wasn't goofy for the sake of being goofy.
I think in the end, what makes this movie so special is that balance that you find. It's not a classic zombie movie. It has that mixture of elements that I'm so proud of, I guess, because to me it's unique.
Some of the things they said about us were so nice. You know, I was kind of blown away by that. Some really big people said some really nice things about us, and I still think about that and just go, you know, you can never have a bad day after you have had some of those experiences of people acknowledging you like that. You think, I don't have the right to ever be sad about anything again.
I have to say, I think the audience is more excited nowadays by it than they were back then. I think the audience that I saw it with didn't know what to expect, and maybe did expect like a serious, scary zombie movie, so, you know, they were sort of trying to figure it out as they went along.
And then when the internet started to really explode, eventually I started to notice that it was big on the internet, and that's, I was amazed.
I was doing a convention with Kelli Maroney, and this family came up to us with a little book that the kids, who are now grown, drew when they were children, sort of a comic version of Night of the Comet, because it was sort of their go-to movie on the weekends or something like that. It was like the family favorite. And these kids did stick figures of Sam and Reggie, you know, and did the whole story in this little flip book. It was so cool. And yeah, and I'm just always pleasantly surprised at the reaction of the fans. And you know, girls are empowered by it because this is a movie that's driven by a couple of women who could look after themselves.
To have affected people so, you know, have something that you did affect people so much and have it mean something like, you know, mean a lot to them like that that's why you're put on earth. So, really lucky.
I think the 80s was a really kind of a cool time for making movies, and it was certainly fun for me. I got to experience so many incredible things at that time, not the least of which was Night of the Comet. And I feel very lucky to have been a part of that time and this movie.